currently in second place on the leaderboard. 5-1 would be a great start. We're the one man ahead of him, not 6-0. Still a good start for him, though. And one thing I know, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't want to step on your feet with where Blue-Red's concerned, but these Delver, these tempo-style decks, frequently have trouble with red deck wins.
It's always razor close in every format. I have won a lot of games against red at 1 life, and obviously, the games that I lose, I'm at 0 or less life. The margins are small.
It's small. Well, it's going to be a good start for Hutchinson. Turn 1 Mountain into Monastery Swift Spear. He's out of the gates, putting Caleb to 19.
And Swift Spear is the singular card in these red decks that makes the most difference. Turn 1 Swift Spear and not turn 1 Swift Spear, night and day.
Yeah. Well, one thing we saw last week, and we actually saw this matchup play out, was that the Blue-Red Prowess deck, there's some temptation to play it defensively in this matchup, right? You're not as fast as the red deck. You're fast, but not as fast. So there's some temptation to sit back and try to block and then, build up an advantage and win in a couple attacks. But Blue-Red Prowess actually doesn't have the correct assortment of creatures to ever be able to block. Hordling Outburst, that sort of card, let's look at the blue-red creatures. Monastery Swift Spear, Abbot of Carol Keep, Jace Vryn's Prodigy. They just don't block well.
Yeah, and on the topic of Storm Chaser Mage, it is a very good blocker. Your deck is not well built to play that role. We have 4 main deck Titan Strength, and Caleb has 2 Teamer Battle Rage. Using these cards defensively, far from ideal.
Well, if Caleb's going to try to race, this is a nightmare for him. Turn 2 for William Hutchinson is a second Swift Spear. He immediately Titan Strengths one of the Swift Spears. So that's 7 damage here on turn 2. Caleb will be down to 12 before he even takes his second turn.
That Titan Strength right there was a Lava Axe that let Hutchinson scry.
And so what I was going to say is that if you're in this role, because you can't play defense with Blue-Red Prowess, you may want to try to race. I don't know if you can do that anymore.
If I'm Caleb, I hope that I have 2 of the 4 Wild Slashes in my list in my hand right now.
If you can clear the board, maybe you can restart and win the race if William has no other threats.
There's not even a guarantee that Caleb's in a good position if that's what he has.
Well, William did scry to the top off the Titan Strength, so yeah, there's a lot of things that have to go Caleb's way. He fetches for a second mountain here. No blue mana. Perhaps he does have 2 spells.
Unless his play is just something like Abbot, but that just is not going to work here.
Yeah, it's only dead to any non-creature spell.
And you're wasting the trigger. Swift Spear is fine. Not a great blocker, though. Any Prowess trigger makes that pretty bad exchange.
So he'll play that and pass, leaving 1 red up.
You have to be confident if you're Hutchinson that that spell is not Wild Slash. Possibility for Titan Strength is real.
So swing a 2. Caleb will block one of them. So now Hutchinson, he has to act first if he wants to get the pump off. He would get blown out by Wild Slash if he does this. And he'll pass. He'll let Caleb take 1 damage. Now, I think Hutchinson got away with one there. The only non-creature card in Caleb's hand, I believe, was an Expedite.
What do you make of this post-combat Dragon Fodder?
He plays post-combat Dragon Fodder. Caleb's going to Wild Slash it.
I think that...
that's not...
The idea there is probably that you don't want to let Caleb just use a Titan Strength and eat one of your guys, but I think I'd rather just make him have it.
I think if you were going to run the line that William ran there, just attacking, I think then when Caleb blocks, you try to pump. I think you run that line if you have 2 instants you can fire off, because then you just have him. But if you don't, I agree with you. I would just like to Dragon Fodder and attack.
Yep.
He left 1 point on the board as it was. That's not much. Caleb's at 10, but he could be a 9. That matters with red decks.
Yep, absolutely.
Of note, Hutchinson missed his 3rd land drop.
Yeah, that is definitely going to matter. Keeps him off of any of those 3 copies of Hordland Outburst in his deck. No green mana either, in case there's a Become Immense.
So for Caleb, it's Abbot of Carol Keep. It flips a Teamer Battle Rage that he can't cast. Caleb will then cast Expedite on the Abbot.
Yep, makes it so that the Abbot could crack for 3. Not a great blocker, but also not a very great attack.
I'm surprised that he cast Expedite there. I would have thought he may have wanted that back on blocks, but this speaks tons to what Caleb thinks about the matchup. He swings in the Abbot for 4 and putting William down to 14. He has no interest in taking a defensive posture here.
No, and part of the reason is that Abbot cannot profitably block anything. Trading for 1 Goblin token, real bad. Swift Spear, if there's any spell, it doesn't even get to trade there.
And that kind of showcases one of the difficulties here. Abbot, it's supposed to be one of the better cards in this you know, if Abbott is that weak in the matchup, that is difficult. And here's some damage from William. He'll Wild Slash away the Swift Spear, crash in for 4. Oh my, a Titan Strength.
Make it 8.
Let's make it 8 with a Scry. Caleb down to 2. And with William keeping on top, you wonder if that's just a Wild Slash to finish it off.
Yeah, and realistically, there's a lot of things that it could be that are pretty easily lethal. Something like a Reckless Bushwhacker is great here. Caleb picked up a Storm Chaser Mage, it looks like. Better blocker than the current play, but he has to take 1 damage off the Shivan Reef to even put it in play.
Expedite on Abbott. This feels like a Hail Mary pass on his side.
Yeah, I would like to see cards that are not the cards in my hand, please.
Yeah, the ones in my hand don't win. Well, he needs more blockers. Here's Magmatic Insight, discarding a land. That's draws Jace and another land. This isn't going to do it.
Nope.
And game 1 over to William Hutchinson. Atarka Red takes the first one off Blue-Red Prowess. And I guess kind of what I expected to see happen here.
Yeah.
Quick affair there. So we're going to go ahead and look at the sideboards for Blue-Red Prowess. That's, to me, the difficult one. Structurally, it just seems like this is a tough matchup for him. His cards aren't the right cards to win it. So I expect him to have a sizable sideboard for it. So when we walk through it, we have Duress, Fiery Impulse, Boiling Earth, Exquisite Firecraft, Pia and Kieran Nalar, Painful Truths, and Murderous Cut. Which of those do you like here?
I expect Duress and Boiling Earth, absolutely. These are the best ways to actually profitably deal with a Hordling Outburst or even a Dragon Fodder, which is actually surprisingly good against your deck. So definitely expect those ones. Fiery Impulse is good. It'll deal with any of the singular creatures. And also sometimes you're just going to have to kill a Goblin token. That's just simply the fact of a matchup like this. PN Kieran Alar I like quite a bit. It is on the level of your opponent's Hordling Outburst. You can at least throw some blockers in play. The tokens are going to matter a lot. Murderous Cut is similar to Fiery Impulse. I think you bring it in, but you're not excited about it.
So at that point, it seems like you are trying to go for a more controlling role here. You can have more cheap removal and a finisher. We're still medium level aggressive, but he's not going to get run out of the building as quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I think that your sideboard strategy, basically in every matchup, has to be the way that you can configure your deck that is best at getting Treasure Cruise online as fast as possible. That's why I like Duress so much as a sideboard card, especially in matchups like this.
All right, so we have, this is an interesting sideboard here from William Hutchinson. I'm going to read off his sideboard here, talk about it in a second. There's some standard things. He has a second Lightning Berserker. He has Teamer Battle Rages, numbers 3 and 4, a couple Self-Inflicted Wounds, 3 Den Protector, 3 Roast, and an extra land. But here's the one I'm really interested in. He has 3 copies of Catacomb Sifter in the sideboard. And for a red deck, that is a very ambitious play.
Yeah, and I think that the reason you actually have it is probably for other red decks. Heck of a blocker, right? Get some scry triggers, help you smooth out your draw in the red mirror. Actually seems like a pretty interesting thing. And that's something that I said earlier when we were watching Rally on camera. The cast Catacomb Sifter, it's a card that other decks could reasonably cast just to actually play Magic. Whether or not you want Catacomb Sifter against this blue-red prowess deck, it's okay. The fact that it makes a token is, like I said, all the token spells match up quite well against Caleb. If you suspect that Duress is coming in and that's how he's interacting, you can't Duress a Catacomb Sifter.
All right, well, Caleb Scherer, he was the Season 4 Invitational winner, had a top 8 finish at the Players' Championship as well. So really a Storm player that made a name for himself from St. Louis, Missouri. He's a current grad student in differential geometry. 2 top 8s and then that invitational top 8 and win last December. Very a minimalist approach here. He lives entirely out of his backpack on trips, just an only carry-on guy.
Yeah, that's wild. I believe that according to the piece that Nick Miller wrote on Caleb, his diet is actually only 80% peanuts.
Okay, it's not entirely a peanuts.
Yeah,
that would be,
you gotta have a mix.
I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can go entirely peanuts. But 80% still, that's a big number for that.
That is huge. Even 80%, that's wild. If that was just a stat on there, I would be concerned.
Yeah, you're like, wow, I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah.
William is going to be going down to 5 this game. So some hiccups there for him. Where Caleb really has shown growth here was his ability to win an invitational where the formats were standard and modern. You know, not really the player we'd expect to show up at that kind of event, but he's shown some multi-format diversity, and that's really making him a scary player recently. That's why he's the number 2 seed.
Yeah, and Legacy's his format of choice, but he knows if he wants to play on the tour, Standard and Modern is where it's got to be. So he upped his game, brought it to the level.
All right, well, William keeps on the 5 as we start game number 2. Players going to be trading lands at the beginning. We do see, Caleb does have black cards out of the sideboard. He has 3 copies of Duress and 2 Painful Truths.
Not excited about Painful Truths here. Whether or not he brings it in, I don't know.
In this matchup,
yeah.
I don't think we can do that. But the card, excited about it, just not in general or just not here?
I like it in this deck, hate it in this matchup. I think that gassing back up is the most important thing for this deck. If you're not triggering prowess every turn, then you're doing a lot of this right here, attacking for 1.
Storm Chaser Mage will hit Hutchinson down to 19. We'll make that 18 on the fetch. Storm Chaser Mage, one of the reasons this deck was on the radar, the uncommon out of Go Through the Gatewatch. A real good rate here, 1/3 flying, four numbers of flying haste for 2. The turn it comes into play, you oftentimes, you just see it deal 1. It's underwhelming there.
Yeah. And, it actually reminds me in that way a lot of Nimble Mongoose in Temur Delver. The first couple cracks might just be for 1. The ceiling is much higher, though. Outside of black removal spells, Storm Chaser Mage can pretty easily dodge most of the red removal spells. You can't roast it just ever. A Wild Slash is not going to tag it, and you have to be a Spellmaster to even try with a Fiery Impulse.
So interesting play here by William Hutchinson. Plays a second land and then casts Abbot of Carol Keep. There's no spell he can actually do anything with at that point. He exiled a Wild Slash.
Yeah, just trying to get on the board here. And he's down cards, and I guess that the hand probably just isn't very aggressive otherwise.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be a Duress from Scherer. And it looks like it was land 3, Wild Slash, Fiery Impulse, Fiery Impulse. And that one does explain it. If your hand's all removal, you don't have the luxury of not playing a creature.
Just got to get something going. And it's going to take at least 2 of those spells to deal with this Storm Chaser Mage.
Interesting choice here by Caleb as to which one he wants to take. Fiery Impulse could, in theory, take care of the Storm Chaser Mage, but he'll just take away the Wild Slash. That's the one that can go upstairs.
Yeah, I think that I would have taken a Fiery Impulse, but it is a pretty minor decision.
And as it is, Fiery Impulse will take care of the Abbot. Storm Chaser Mage hits in for 3 thanks to 2 prowess triggers. And more importantly, William has no board and nowhere near dealing 19 damage.
It occurs to me that the fact that we are taking the only spell that can go to our dome, it suggests the possibility that Caleb has brought in Painful Truths.
Okay. It would give you the freedom to cast Painful Truths.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he has on his hand. He does have a copy of Abbot of Carol Keep in his hand, which in this matchup is almost as good as, it's probably better than a Painful Truths.
Yes. Doesn't do any damage to you. Kind of draws a card.
Yeah, I mean, if you have enough mana, it draws you a card.
Mm-hmm. Like we saw in game 1, not much of a blocker, but you have to attack to win, so it's a fine attacker.
For a second there, I think Hutchinson had to consider double kill spelling the Storm Chaser Mage, but that's too terrible of a play.
Yeah. Not clear that he has better options, but I agree it's bad. Caleb's getting a little Abbot fluttered here. That is not what you would call a problem. If you're going to draw multiples of a card in a board state like this, that's a great one.
Abbot of Carol Keep, that flips Temur Battle Rage. That wasn't a card I was actually expecting to still see in Caleb's deck.
That is surprising. That suggests to me that Caleb thinks that his role is the aggressor, and if he doesn't win fast, he can't win at all. You do still play Duresses because they'll slow your opponent down, stop them from having as many removal spells. But the Battle Rage, only a proactive spell.
Fiery Impulse at the Abbot. In response, and this is really heads up on Caleb's side, he's going to Temur Battle Rage the Storm Chaser Mage. And this means the other Fiery Impulse is not spell masteried.
Nope, only going to be a really bad shock in this scenario.
Beautiful play here from Caleb. So that'll take it down. The Storm Chaser Mage will deal 4. Now Hutchinson can still untap and take care of the Mage, but 4 extra damage from Caleb.
Looks like Hutchinson picked up a Zergo Bell Striker. Not exactly on time here.
Fiery Impulse knocks down the Storm Chaser Mage. Here's the Zergo and a pass.
Is that another Abbot for Caleb? Cast that
Another
one all day.
Abbot, yeah, that one shows Shivan Reef. I think he has a third one in his hand as well.
Might as well, right?
Well, let's see. There's there's a Wild Slash.
That could not have gone better.
Excellent. And a pass from Caleb. So Caleb, now look at all the cards up. 3 lands in play for Hutchinson, 5 for Caleb, 2 creatures. Well, William has some blockers. It's a dragon fodder, but...
Now, what Caleb really wants to find here is a treasure cruise. That would all but put this game away. Instead,
well, how about another Abbot, the 4th one?
That's got to be a close second.
And it's going to be Boiling Earth. Big play here from Caleb. That knocks out both the blockers. Swing for 6. Puts Hutchinson down to 5.
I'd be inclined to cast the other Abbot, but that play is certainly fine. Perhaps hedging against Hutchinson having some kind of sweeper of his own.
Monastery Swiftsphere, the play from Hutchinson. Storm Chaser Mage, the draw from Caleb. And things are just getting out of control here. Here's another Abbot. It will flip a Monastery Swiftsphere. That one's cast as well. Here's a Storm Chaser Mage. That's all the cards in Caleb's hand, but 5 creatures to 1. Yeah, Atarka's Command won't do it, and we are on to game 3 between the two.
Yeah, Atarka's Command, not great in these mulligan to 5 situations. Plenty of time left for these two players to finish the game. Doesn't look like either of them's reaching back for the sideboard. They seem pretty happy with what they've done.
Yeah, so I mean, so interesting. We're still seeing the copies of Temur Battle Rage in Caleb's deck. He's gotten away from Boiling Earth and Fiery Impulse. That much as I would expect. So what are the cuts then for that? If we're still keeping in Battle Rages, I mean, we didn't see any Jace's post board.
Yeah, he has 2 copies of main deck. Clutch of Currents, that one probably came out. Botsing a token, not great. Slip Through Space is pretty medium here. It's a cantrip that has to target a creature. Expedite's kind of the same story. You might just have to keep some numbers of those in just to be able to trigger prowess. Yeah,
so in that case, you'd want the instant, I would think, because it's a little more flexible if you have to play defense in a pinch.
Mm-hmm.
Still not, I can't imagine what you prefer to be doing. Quick 7s dealt out for both players. Both of these red decks not wanting to waste time. Now, Hutchinson did drop game 2. Remember, he was on a multi 5 in that one. On the play, keeping a 7, you have to like Atarka Red's odds.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like Hutchinson likes his hand. Oh, he's keeping it.
And we'll see if Caleb keeps as well. And that's going to be a no. So this time it's Caleb down to 6.
Yeah, to keep a hand for the blue-red prowess deck against Atarka Red, it just has to be interactive, particularly on the draw. Casting a Storm Chaser Mage on turn 2 is extremely unexciting. You're really looking for some of those Wild Slashes, or a turn 1 Duress would be great. Does Caleb actually have a basic Swamp, now that I think about it? Doesn't look like there's actually a basic swamp anywhere in the list. So on the draw, Dragon Fodder actually is very good for Hutchinson when he's on the play with Dragon Fodder. And Caleb could only possibly cast Duress on turn 2, which means he's doing nothing else. And then that really means you have a good window for Hordeling Outburst. So this is Caleb's turn to mulligan to 5, which despite Hutchinson not liking his hand, I think that the odds are going to be pretty heavily in his favor.
Well, there's a chance if Hutchinson kept a borderline keep and it splits the wrong way, then Caleb won't be punished for this multi 5.
Yeah, if this is like a 1-land hand or a 6-land hand.
And then it breaks the wrong way, you know, a 6-land hand that draws a few lands.
Yep.
Caleb has kept on 5. Looks like he does have turn 2 Storm Chaser Mage available to him, so there's some upside here.
Yep.
And it'll be 2 Bloodstained Mires. The first one played there. First play will be Hutchinson's. And it's Monastery Swiftspear and a tap land. Caleb down to 19. And we'll make that 18 with the fetch.
Yeah, these tap lands could be part of the reservation on Hutchinson's part. Just the fact that he's not getting on the board very quickly. turn 2 Swift Spear or no other action is not super exciting. Still a great card, but
and it'll be duress from Caleb. So we'll see he's working against. It is a good one here. Atarka's Command, Become Immense, Titan Strength, and 2 copies of Abbot of Carol Keep.
And you're really seeing the reason for the reservation on Hutchinson's part is that he had only the 2 lands and that they both came into play tapped. That is a pretty real problem, though. The Abbots will give him a shot to draw out. The duress can't touch those.
I mean, I'm wondering what he kept there. I'm wondering if he kept a 1-lander here.
That's also possible.
Because I think with 2 lands, this hand is not borderline at all.
And it could also just be inexperience with the blue-red prowess deck. If he just thinks that this deck is very fast and very deadly, then it is kind of a borderline hand, right?
Sure. If you're worried about getting, this is a slow hand. But as the game's going to play out, Caleb, they're only with duress on turn 2 and no threats yet. This hand should be pretty perfect.
Yeah. Zergo. Well, he drew the land.
He drew the land. Abbott into Zergo, gets to cast them both. Here comes Monastery Swift Spear. Yeah. Great turn for Hutchinson.
Yeah. If the hand was borderline before, it's excellent now.
Caleb down to 16. Yeah, now we're looking at Become Immense and Atarka's Command, both in grip for William. And another Abbott. Has Caleb covered just about every way here. Now, there are some outs, I think. Was it Caleb? No, he just has Boiling Earth. He doesn't have a sweeper for 2.
This is the type of game where Boiling Earth looks a lot worse than Radiant Flames. The decision is made mostly in the name of efficiency. It's not because you ever think you're going to awaken with Boiling Earth. It's because just the 2 mana is more... Well, it's more efficient than the 3 mana. Also, the 3 mana spell can kill your own creatures.
Yeah, I was wondering that, because Boiling Earth is one-sided when it works.
Mm-hmm.
Here is Storm Chaser Mage. It's on defense. That's defensive duty for Caleb.
Yep. If Caleb has a Wild Slash or a Fiery Impulse in hand, this is actually not terrible. The Atarka's Command is a problem, but Caleb does know about it.
So he won't make a block that'll get blown out.
Pretty far off of casting that Become Immense, but that is going to matter in this game. Main phase of Atarka's Command. Perhaps playing around, throwing away a creature in case of this trick here.
I like this, actually. As if there's going to be a response, he wants to know what it is.
Yeah.
Wild Slash will go toward Monastery Swift Spear. Well, Hutchinson, does he have another red spell? He does not. Modes were pump the team and deal 3.
Yep, sounds about right. And then here, we know we have a Tomb 4 Storm Chaser Mage on the other side of the table. No reason to attack with these creatures.
Well, the Abbot can still swing. Zergo can too. He's
right,
a 3/3.
The Abbot becomes a 4. Oh, yeah, they don't die.
So Caleb takes 3 off the Atarka's Command and 4 off the Abbot. That will still put him down to 8. It's not an ideal turn for William, but it's not bad here. Magmatic Insight, discarding Shivan Reef for Scherer.
That's another duress. Looks like we have a Reckless Bushwhacker and an Abbot.
Wow. It's
a good mix.
That could do some damage. Duress is going to have to take the Become Immense. Abbot and Reckless Bushwhacker, that's more than enough damage. Here's land 4 from Caleb. He'll go to 7. He may tap out for that last card in his hand. We'll get a chance to see what it is here.
Boiling Earth for the Abbot. It's fine. Not very good, though.
Well, I think once Caleb sees William's hand, he's realized that he just has to make this play.
Yeah, he is in trouble. He's on 7, so just letting that creature hang out when he has a spell that can kill it.
Well, he would be dead to a land drop if he didn't do that. William plays, if William just plays Abbott, plays Bushwhacker.
Yeah, the Bushwhacker would give the Abbott haste.
All right, here's Fiery Impulse for the blocker and a swing with Reckless Bushwhacker. That'll put Caleb down to 1 on his last draw here. It's not going to do it. So William Hutchinson, 2-1, takes care of Caleb Scherer and moves on to 6-1 with a Tarka Red.
And despite seeing a Tarka Red win this match and my reservations going in, that was not very indicative of the matchup, I don't feel. We did see both players mulligan to 5 in the post-sideboard games where you have the ability to kind of sculpt your plan more than in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, the games 2 and 3 certainly are uphill climbs for the player on 5, but game 1 played out kind of how I expected to see it.
Yeah.
It went in Hutchinson's favor. Caleb's deck just not equipped enough to block just yet.
Yeah, and I do think that game 1 is going to be unfavorable for the Blue-Red Prowess deck. So if it's a deck that you're interested in playing and it's a deck that you're working on, then that means it's going to be important to have a good sideboard for that matchup. Obviously, that deck won the